Okay. Let's see. Yeah, it should be fine. Canonet repair 101. The first thing you should worry about when it comes to repairing canonets is just don't do it. Canonets, by and large, are fairly simple to repair. They're complex in the realm that it's both a lens and a camera. Fortunate thing is they are pretty easy to take care of. There's only like 4 or 5 like very common issues. Problems with them are the leatherette, as seen here, is notably pretty thin and fragile and tends to tear very easily. I've tried a few different methods for that. I've mentioned this before, but I have this 99% isopropyl alcohol, and that works pretty well, except for ones that are too far gone. And then at that point, it's just nothing you can really do about it. So we just assume to put new skin on, which is just easier to do. The worst part of these, trying to get to the lens. You can get it through the back fairly easily, but through the front, it's all reliant on this very tiny, fragile, delicate, dainty metal ring. It sits on top of everything else, like so. So it holds everything in. The lens unit, as you can see here, it screws in this outer bit there, and everything, yeah, can come out. However, because of its small size, it's very hard to get to without functionally ruining it and or ruining the lens thread. So that's something to look out for, and it just happens more often than not. So here we have the Canonet that I picked up, and it was from Florida, I believe. And it just, like you can see here, there's some clear signs of just it's not even like denting necessarily. It's just like there was like mold that got in underneath the coating, the silver coating that they use on this top, and so it started to eat away at it. But I think I took care of most of it. You can still see there's little flecklings of it right there. Anyway, it was just kind of a mess. The electronics didn't work. The glass has a little biome in it, as well, as you can see, and functionally the camera was just kind of thrashed. So I did what I could. I took it apart, and this is where we're at now. And I didn't record any of that because it quite frankly took me way too long. I was working all of last week, and so I was touching it here and there for 30 minutes at a time, and it's just really not worth recording too much. And I believe that all of the things I did were kind of covered in a previous video, save for taking this back end out so I could access the lens from this holder, because I believe that this system works still okay. And this is the shutter system as well as the metering system. But it's interesting because the metering system connects fully up to this cell right here. So I'd have to disconnect this and then be able to have this as a part. I'm gonna take apart this last element here, and it's actually 2 elements stacked in, because I believe that the lens is 5 glass elements. So there's this back piece here with a piece there and a bigger piece there. There's this front piece, which, as I mentioned, is pretty thrashed. It's not as bad as another one that I have. If I can find it over here. I have one that is just way gone. And then this piece here. So what we will do to get to it is what I normally do. I take my pair of rosary pliers here, and I really need to sharpen these. Usually what I do is I just push it in, and it rotates out. Sometimes they are really bad, and the blades on this one, the aperture blades, seemed like they looked pretty molded and or not molded, sorry. The blades looked like they were pretty oily, and that's usually indicative of many other things. And then not to mention, as I said previously, the rest of this camera was in a pretty poor condition. So it's not too surprising when things are this difficult to get out, but it is something to keep in mind. And anyway, like I always say, most of these repairs, like, I would not recommend you try and attempt. I'm only doing this because, one, I've done this on so many other cameras, so many other Canonets, so I feel very comfortable and confident in my abilities to do it. And two, this thing's pretty thrashed anyway. Like, I highly doubt that I could get it all put back together, this is true. And it would probably even work. Not probably, it would work. But the issue is that the glass is still bad. And with mold as bad as that is, I'd really have to look into it to see like the construction of the mold and to see what kind of like different compounds I could use to counteract that. But I don't see there being a way to do that. So essentially, it's still just a parts camera. So I'm not ultimately all that concerned about putting it back together. This is just more so for if somebody sends me in their Canonet and it needs a new cell or it needs, you know, a new lens ring like this, because what happens more often than not is someone drops this and dents it, and then you can't put filters on it, and you really can't do much with the system. Or even worse so, is there's like some oil or something in the glass, and you can't get to that front piece, and they either dropped it or they tried to get this metal ring out themselves, and it just bore a hole into this metal ring here. So it's always good to have an extra one of these on handy just in case you need to kind of destroy one to help another. Here we have the shutter blades. It's a leaf shutter. Interesting fact about these shutters in particular, because there's like 3 types of shutters. There's the cloth horizontal traveling shutter, then there's like the copal vertical shutter, and then there's a leaf shutter like this. The leaf shutter is limited to only a 1/500th maximum shutter speed. Any faster than that, it's just not physically possible for the blades to extract that quickly. I think this is about where I will leave it for now. I just wanted to quickly highlight some of the issues with repairing Canonets, because they're pretty easy until it gets to a point that they're very difficult. So as always, I would just say consult me, consult someone else. Like if you have one of these cameras and it's acting up in a particular way, have someone look at it, get another opinion on it, because you could probably do a lot of the repairs for it, but it's a matter of like, how long do you want it to last? How good do you want it to function? Like all of these things. So I would say best bet, talk to someone who knows what they're doing, such as myself or any of the other hundreds of camera repair people out there. But that's pretty much it. Anyway, thanks for tuning in to the video. And for now, I will catch you on the next one.